I'm going to introduce Scott LePen-Newton to the stage, who's going to present the work of the Democracy R&D Secretariat and do some activities for the future of the network. Up you come, Scott. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. I have the honour of just helping out with this last part of today. So you are going to hear from a few different speakers to get a bit of a rounds the grounds of the R&D network, but then we are going to do an activity at the end. So you are going to be doing some work, which you see in front of you. But first, I have the pleasure of introducing three people who are some of the most beautiful people I've ever met in my life. They are just beautiful human beings, great connectors. I'm sure you've all been hugged by them at some point today. And they happen to also be the highly effective people running our network for and with us. So I would like to introduce David, Indira, and Felipe to the stage. Thank you.
All right. This is not our 7th, this is our 8th annual conference. We had a totally online one during the worst year of the pandemic. In our first meeting, we had some 30 people from 18 organizations. We now have more than 110 organizational members and more than 110 individual members in 59 countries. And we gained a bunch of new members in the last year, whose names you will be able to see on the screen. Assuming our technology works.
It's not working.
Ah!
No. Can we go next slide up on the screen? Up there, see? Thanks, got it. Keep talking through, we can also share those. Oh, here we go. Let me see. It is this. You have the power.
Okay. There's organizations right there. Wait, not that yet. Yeah, those are the organizational members, the new ones. And individuals should be next. I would like to thank the organizers of this conference, the Democratic Society, FIDE, the G1000, and Mission Publique for making this the largest democracy R&D conference ever, with some 270 participants. I also want to acknowledge Lynn Carson of the New Democracy Foundation. She was the one who conceived the idea of the network. A lot of people, especially newer members, may not know that. And she advised me at every step of the way, and it would not exist without her. I also want to acknowledge two people who are no longer with us. Peter Dienel, who invented the planning cell in 1971, and Ned Crosby, who invented the citizens' jury in the same year. Without their work, we would not be here. I would like to thank our funders, the New Democracy Foundation, Ned Crosby and Pat Ben, the Salvia Foundation, the Robert Bosch Foundation, and the National Endowment for Democracy. Without their support, we would not be here. I would like to thank all of you folks, because not everything you do, but all the work that you do to support each other. Without that, the network would not mean anything. And finally, I would like to thank my two co-leads, Felipe Rey and Indira La Torre, for making a tremendous difference in this network and in my life. Felipe, aquí está el micrófono. Hable, por favor.
Thank you, David. This morning, Cordelia was saying that it is not coincidence that inclusion is fostered by women leadership. So I can say also that the thing that I will show, David, is not coincidence. It's the result of your work at these 9 years. So you talk about more than 200 members of the network. Where are they? Here. This is the global distribution of the members of Democracy R&D network all over the world. As you can see, we are in the 6 continents with an important presence in North America and in Europe, but also with members in Africa, in Asia, in South America, and Oceania. In all these countries. So you can see in all these countries there is at least one member or two of Democracy R&D. Of course, the network has very strong ecosystems of deliberation, and I want to praise the work in these countries. The United States, the United Kingdom, Germany, Australia, Belgium, of course, and Canada. The composition of the network is evenly split among individuals and organizations. And this is my favorite graphic, and it's the one that speaks about your work, David. This is how the network has grown in these 9 years, from a very small network back in 2017 and 2018 to a network that in 2020 began to grow in a very notorious way until 216 members today, and some of them from the Global South. And this is something that I also want to highlight, and I will finish with this. Back in 2017, all members of the network were from the Global North. And now, 9 years later, we have 36 members from the Global South, many of whom are here. So thank you. Thank you very much for being here. And I will pass now the microphone to Indira Latorre, and she will explain what we will do in this plenary.
Thank you. Thank you, Felipe. Thank you, David. Well, our idea, we were thinking a lot about this plenary, what we should do, something interesting at the end of the first day. And this is why we thought that maybe the best thing is to have our own members to show how they are leading some of the programs that we are having. So this is why you will hear from some of our members. You will hear from Eva Chesnulaitite about the Democracy R&D annual report. You will hear also about the field building program with Scott Lapan-Newton from Gage Consulting in Australia. Actually, this is a program that is designated to expand global awareness of democratic, of deliberative democracy. You also will hear from Tomás González, where are you, Tomás? From Tomás González from Tribu, Chile, who will speak about the New Frontiers project, a project that is in the heart of the network because it tends to highlight the importance of Global South in deliberative democracy. And you also will hear from Karstenberg. He will share some ideas about the new Constitutions and Charters group, which is also a very important group that we are trying to become more permanent. And okay, so this is what you will hear. So I will give the floor to Eva. Eva is a member of our advisory board, one of the co-authors of the OECD's landmark reports in democratic innovation, and the co-author of the Year in Deliberation 2024 Democracy R&D Annual Report. So Eva, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, thanks. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Indira. My name is Yeva, and I'm here to let you know that as of this year, Democracy R&D Network has an annual report. As Felipe, Indira, and David introduced, the members have been growing, and all the work that we as a network are doing is growing exponentially. So the idea was that we should form a kind of a living register of what's happening every year in the network, what kind of trends do we observe together, what are the new assemblies that happen that actually open new pathways and push the field forward, all kinds of publications, resources, reports, and books that you are publishing, and what the network has done over the years. So the summaries of the annual meetings, the learning calls that happen every month, all of these things. So here there's the QR code for the very first report that was published in March that I had the pleasure to co-author with Felipe Rey and Santiago Niño. And we are going to be continuing with these reports, hopefully further in the future. So we are starting now the data collection for the report 2025. For that, we're going to be circulating an email where we're going to be giving you the opportunity to submit assembly cases that you have implemented in 2025, the resources that you have produced, or you can already access that on the Democracy R&D's website, where you can also access the report. And now we actually wanted to use the opportunity that we have a lot of you here to have a little chance to see, collect some data for the report. So one part of the report is really these emerging trends, where we also give an opportunity for network members to identify what trends they're seeing and help us describe them. So this report is really a collaborative effort that many people have contributed to, and thank you very much for all of you. So we have a little Slido poll set up, so if you could please scan the QR code. We maybe give a little time for that before we start showing the results. So once you scan the QR code, you are going to be dropped into a poll, and we ask you to please answer the question, what trends have you noticed that have been defining the field in 2025? You can choose up to 3 options or suggest your own, and we will have a chance to also see what you're voting for, what you're suggesting. We have pre-identified this list in consultation with some of you already, but I think this is a great chance to see what the network is thinking about at the moment. So if we could have maybe the Slido also displayed, that would be perfect. Okay. Yes, we'll come in a moment, so you have time to think and suggest your own trends. AI and digital tools for deliberation is on everyone's minds. Expanding representation and deliberation as democratic resilience. I guess this is what we see as some additional things that have already been suggested. Thank you very much. More interest in mini-publics among public officials and researchers, deliberation in political parties, internal democracy. Thank you. Wow, that's amazing to see what everyone is thinking about. Use of popular culture as tool for advocacy, assemblies on the living system. I think this will give us a lot to think about, not only for the trends for the report, but more broadly, perhaps, the priorities of the network and what's on people's minds. Right, well, thank you very much, everyone, for participating. We are going to take all of these ideas and all of your votes, and we're going to go from there working on the report. I hope you submit your fabulous cases, because last year we could feature so many interesting examples from all of these different regions. So the more you submit, the more we can feature the richness of this work that everyone is actually doing. And I encourage you to read the 2024, report we wrote in 2024, just to be inspired by what the others are doing. And to me, that gives hope for the future work that we are already doing. So thank you very much. And I would like to introduce Tomás González to talk about the New Frontiers project.
So, hello Brussels, hello network. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the honor of the invitation. I have this. Okay, so the New Frontiers of Deliberative Democracy is an initiative of the Democracy R&D Network supported by the National Endowment for Democracy that is focused on addressing the most pressing issues of our field. During the first phase, 3 frontiers were defined and addressed: South-North learning, institutionalization, and deliberation on particularly difficult issues. Out of these, 3 guidebooks were created, and you can find them in the website of the network. Now we are in the second phase of the project, focused on consolidating deliberative practices in the Global South. During this, 3 new frontiers will be addressed. These are adapting sortition for the Global South, which will be led by Delibera Brazil. Where is the team of Delibera Brazil? Here, great. We have also CEE in India, addressing the topic of field building for deliberative democracy. Where is CEE? Over there, over here as well. And as Tribu from Chile, we will be addressing the frontier related to agenda setting and governance. And I would like to tell you just a little bit about it now, and I would like to start by acknowledging that we are in a very special moment at the time. Deliberative mini-publics across the world are contributing to open democracies to their citizens in a meaningful way. So they are becoming more common, well-known, the network is growing, and I'm sure we will see an increase in a greater proliferation of projects. At the same time, deliberative mini-publics still retain an aspect of novelty, which is an opportunity in the one hand for us, because it keeps some space of imagination of what could be the impact of these mechanisms. And at the same time, it invites careful reflection, as every project we implement helps to shape the understanding of what the deliberative mini-public is and what the impact could be. So strong projects contribute to an understanding of a greater potential, and weak projects shape an understanding of a more limited potential. And the question on the table at this tipping point is, how can we realize the full potential of DMPs? Of course, we expect deliberative mini-publics to continue serving as meaningful instruments for public consultation. Yet, we also understand that the potential extends beyond that, as they could give birth to new institutional developments. And we see a common hypothesis among the network, which is that if we start with a pilot project, and if we increase the number of deliberations that are taking place, greater impact will follow. And that by increasing the number of deliberations, we will get to contribute to institutional developments. And of course, pilots and the projects we implement matter, but at the same time, we shouldn't ask no single case to carry all the weight of showing the full potential of deliberative mechanisms. And in order to do that, we want to contribute by advancing a methodology and examples of co-creation of strategic roadmaps for institutional development where specific projects can be embedded. Because designing institutions raises questions that are not necessarily addressed when we are designing specific implementations. Things like the use cases for which a country, a region will want to use this, what is the institutional architecture that should be responsible for institutional implementations, the methodologies and standards that should be set for institutional implementations, citizens' rights and duties, technologies, and more related public awareness and citizen engagement. Of course, the reality of consultations and institutions is very different, and I'm about to close. Consultations usually are complementary to the system, low budget, contingent on context and political will, and therefore they risk limited impact, and the quality is very heterogeneous, and the accountability limited, right? And we of institutions expect the opposite. So we do this aiming for achieving robust standards and protocols for new institutional developments. At the same time, having in mind that institution building is not a process with a fixed endpoint. We are not beginning something to get to like an institution and that's the end. It's the beginning of a practice for which we expect to contribute with a methodology of co-creation that is coherent with the spirit of deliberation. So thank you. And now I invite Karsten to take the floor.
Thank you so much. Yeah, dear friends and colleagues. Okay, I can also do it without perhaps, but such a pleasure and honor to present to you our new Democracy R&D's Constitutions and Charters interest group. It's not a working group, but an interest group for anyone who is interested in really going deeper into constitutionalizing citizens' assemblies, as the name is suggesting. And the question how we are doing this, I mean, is multifold, but perhaps I received already some questions. Are you really sure about constitutionalizing? And we are very much aware, while we're aiming this goal, this is very, very ambitious because we reach at the highest legal level possible, and at the same time in the world, there is no case constitutionalized yet. And this is what we hope to change, of course. And we are very humble at the same time, very grounded and realistic where we are at the moment. But we believe now is a moment where democracy is as a crossroads, is under fundamental pressure, under constitutional fundamental pressure, if you want, that we now start to at least prepare this and become prepared to really make citizen assemblies even stronger by including them into charters and constitutions. Because we want to make citizen assemblies permanent, we want to make them independent, we want to make them more, receive more legitimacy and more powerful. And this is the most powerful document that we have in constitutions. So how do we reach this goal? First of all, we want to bridge these two bubbles, the deliberative democracy bubble, which is our bubble, and the constitutional law field and bubble. And we have already started to do that with fantastic scholars and activists. And we also do not aim at one single best case, one size fits all, so to say. Probably you know all these discussions among democracy activists where people get an ecstasy about the real perfect democracy. And once you look close, it's a different story. But rather we want to learn from the different cases that exist in the world. And that's perhaps one of the most beautiful parts of this project. And we have started with the very first cases in the United States. You perhaps have heard about the Article 5 People's Constitutional Assembly, organized by Assemble America. It was presented by Ian Tresoyer and Paul Malman, We had an equally inspiring case just recently after the summer break about a completely different context, which is Switzerland, which has an unmatched context of direct voting processes, where people also work on citizen assemblies to constitutionalize them. Jay Wagner from Pro Futuris, who is with us. And after this session, we are going to go into the German case presented by Florian Wiczorek, Madame Kati. We're going into, we don't have it on this slide, the Mexican case. We are going to have a comparative presentation by Felipe and Eva Chesnulatite. We are going into the European constitutional case, which becomes increasingly relevant and urgent. You might have heard about Angela Merkel's, when she was still in power here in Brussels, famous quote that in a world or a political community that is unable to change its fundamental constitutional ground rules while the world is changing around us simply has no future. And it is one of the tricky things to how to get actually a constitutional process ongoing and started. And we are convinced that also citizens' assemblies in this revision or starting process can play an important role. We will go to continue not only in country cases, but we will also use multiple methods, and we will have an open space meeting where every one of you can join. As I said in the beginning, this is not a working group where we have only the constitutional democracy nerds, so to say, but it could also be that you're just interested and want to drop in shortly, or just to give you one fantastic example by Luke Thorburn, who has done a really brilliant overview of all the existing institutionalized governance structure of citizen assemblies, just by sharing this in this group. And this is a perfect point of reference where we all learn from each other and where we can build on. So I very much hope this inspires you to possibly join us. We will also have a working group tomorrow on this subject. We will also work on theoretical frameworks, most of all David Schechter's taxonomy and constitutional, help me, the keyword, taxonomy and ontology, sorry. And we're also working on citizen assemblies typologies. You might have seen the Citizen Assembly Plus model on the poster galleries and other approaches how to systematize citizen assemblies so as to really better institutionalize and ultimately constitutionalize them. Thank you so much for your attention, and I'm happy to provide the word to Scott. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll nick that off you too.
Oh, you don't?
Oh, no, this thing. Yeah. Thank you so much to all our speakers. So I'm kind of doing the same thing that they did, but then I'm going to see if we could get some of your input on some things for this last topic. So this is the Field Building Interest Group. This is a group that's been put together, established, to help build the field of what we're calling lottery selected deliberation, but to build this field. And what we've recently done, this network that's met quite a few times across the world, we've typically been working in 2 time zones that we then brought together, is they've met twice to co-design a light touch theory of change. It's the thing you're probably sitting on, right? The coloured thing. And the reason that we're doing this as a group is to agree on what are the outcomes we want to achieve, that we think we need to achieve in order for the field to be built out, and then what does that mean for the actions that we should focus on and that we can sign up to. So this is not a theoretical exercise. This is about arriving at strategic shared actions that we can take as a network, and we know why we're applying them in the parts of the system that we are. So I'm going to share that theory of change with you in a moment, and we would love to know, I suppose on their behalf, I'll share it with you, what is your feedback on the theory of change itself? And given that the next conversation the group's going to have is what actions should we take within that theory of change, we would love to know what actions do you feel this interest group should be taking, and we hope that maybe you might join us and do them with us rather than just delegating. But those are the questions we're asking today. I'm just going to, it's a lot of text, but it's actually quite straightforward. So I'm just going to quickly share this. But as I'm talking you through some of this, I'm going to flash forward to the questions I'll be asking you, right? What is one improvement that you and the person next to you suggest that we could make to this theory of change, the way we're understanding what might actually build out the field? 2, what top action do you think the interest group could take to build the field? And then, if you are interested in being kept up to date or even joining us in these conversations, please share your email addresses, and I will collect all these pieces of paper afterwards and have some fun laboriously going through them and incorporating it into our next steps. So, what is the thing? The theory of change? This is all fully co-designed in 2 workshops with everyone, right? The first one, the goal. People from all walks of life benefit from more inclusive, fair, and informed decision-making on tough, politically gridlocked issues because lottery-selected deliberations are a go-to decision-making method that could be via institutionalization or not. The main 4 kind of areas here are the 4 main outcome streams that the group identified. So one is, well, what's going to make that happen? It's because the process is better known, either because it's being better promoted or maybe because more people are experiencing it directly. And that can actually be quite tangential. So it could be that they're witnessing it or they're part of a maxi public that's informing it or whatnot, but they're experiencing it. 2, one reason could be because conveners are less likely to reject it. And some potential pathways there is because they're less concerned about their threat to power, because they're less concerned about the idea of democratic evolution, and they're more likely to accept that. The third one is more the positive side of that coin. It's because conveners are more likely to embrace the process actively. This could be because they're convinced that the process is necessary, that it's required in order to improve on the status quo. Could be because they see the value of greater public participation, so actually just the idea of that increased engagement in and of itself. Or potentially, it could come up via public pressure, popular movements, applied pressure for these processes to be used. And then finally, because the process is more effective and credible. And I've heard a few people talking about this line up today. So part of what will help build out the field is because conveners have the capability to do it. They have access to the external capabilities and resources to support it. And because, critically, they're committed to addressing the recommendations that there is a pathway to meaningful impact from these processes. This last row you'll see at the bottom was the group's initial attempt to go, what are the unique strengths we have as actors in this system to help with these things compared to politicians, journalists, community, others, right? And just a few, I'm not going to go through all of them now, but just a few highlights is things like we run these. We have the expertise to run them. We have relationships with past advocates, be they participants, conveners, whatnot. We are really experienced with constantly advocating for these processes, even just in our little projects and that we work on. And then finally, we have the capability to build capacity beyond our network, within conveners, within others, right? That's just highlighting a few here, but you can see there's plenty more as well. So I'm literally going to give you like 10 minutes, maybe 10 to 15 minutes to chat to the person next to you. That thing you've got has 2 sides to it. So on the back, you'll see space for the questions. All our friends in the other group, I think that might have actually been me. That was me. Accident. So we're ready to party. Let's go. Thanks, everyone. You got 10 minutes. Folks, I'm so sorry. Amidst my epileptic fit, I forgot to tell you one last thing, which is what the stars are. The stars are the parts of this theory of change that the group thinks they should focus on. So that's them saying, here's the things we're going to focus on. So I'd love, as part of your critique, is do you agree that that's where the focus should be or not? Thank you very much. Go for it. 5 more minutes, everyone. 5 more minutes. Just make sure you're writing it down. 5 more minutes. Just while people are finishing up, can I have a show of hands, anyone who might be open to just briefly sharing something that they wrote down? Do you mind coming up? Come take a seat. I know it's scary. She didn't know that. Well, hold on. I'll go to you after if you need to. Thank you. Can I have anyone else? Anyone else who's happy to share? Come on, give me 2 more. 2 more. Come on, someone else can share. Yeah, there we go. Come on, Yoga, you're up. And do you mind coming up, Claudia? Thank you. Take a seat. All right. Please feel free to keep writing, all right, because I'm going to collect them at the end. Yeah, you have to sit. I know, it's suddenly very formal.
I thought I was volunteering for 2 seconds.
No. It's all right. You know, you're not going to be here too long. So these 3 people have spent the last week preparing for the presentations they're about to give. So we thank you for their time. do you mind just introducing yourself and, yeah, what's something that came out from your group? And then we might even spotlight a few from the floor if we have a moment. So, yeah, what did you talk about?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Claudia Schwelles. I'm the founder and CEO of Democracy Next. And I was chatting with Vera Sacchetti, who is a designer that we've collaborated on various projects over the years. And so what we talked about was that we felt partly in the system goal, there's like one word or phrase that we thought was too specific, and that was politically gridlocked, because we feel like the broader goal of making lottery-selected deliberations a go-to decision-making method is something we agree on strongly. But if we're going to get there, it can't just be for government. We also want that a go-to method in schools and universities and workplaces and other institutions like museums. And so we thought that has to be something that's broadened out, and perhaps that vision also needs to change. And then in terms of the action that we thought the interest group could build on, we thought that leaning into some of the strength of the network of the connections that we have. So the two networks of ambassadors of, on the one hand, the conveners and institutions and former assembly members. Personally, I don't really like participants, but that's a little nitpicky thing. But assembly members are two things I think the network could really do well, and that we think we talked about this together.
And there's a chance to formalise that maybe a bit more, which I know has been discussed elsewhere today. Quick question, you don't have to have an answer to it, but how do you feel about the idea of gridlocked issues, even if it's not politically gridlocked? Does that solve it for you or not quite?
I mean, tough. We agree with. Like, it should be a real issue. We both noticed fluffy come up in the list earlier. Like, we agree they have to be meaty, but politically gridlocked also, it just conveys as though we're only talking about the political sphere.
Awesome, great. So keep the focus on complexity, but broaden out the... And I should flag too that the group talked about the definition of conveners in the broader sense. So it could be not just other institutions that you were talking about then, but the group argued that this theory of change works for community-led convening as well. You could essentially apply this to that stream as well. Thank you. Do you want to introduce yourself? You've all got a mic.
Hi, I'm Steph Draper. I'm at Involve in the UK. So we talked about two things. One was, I think, and it speaks to your last point, and what we talked about this morning, do we want to restrict this to lottery-selected deliberations? Because I think we talked a lot about Sortition Plus and the need to find more exclusive ways of doing recruitment. And then the other big thing, so true to people who participate in our process, we were not going to put one improvement. That we felt that actual impact and it making a difference was not really very part of the theory of change. So because the process is effective and credible, fine, but and actually delivers some change. So more focus on impact. And I think that's been a real theme. And I think a lot of us are struggling to really find better ways to demonstrate impact. And it feels like the network could do something really constructive on that.
Love that. So I think what you've probably done is strengthen that 4C, and that lineup is that effectiveness. Really, we're talking about impact, and that means that we're not just having conveners committing to addressing recommendations, but we're working on building out impacts more broadly, and that's one way. Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
And that connects with our... So yes, it's very connected with that. So addressing recommendations, and then that those recommendations should be effective in addressing policy issues. Because if finally we produce a lot of recommendations which are not changing and transforming society, maybe, yeah, we have a problem. And our suggestion is like connected with how this table is structured. So we feel if we have system goals within the system, and maybe you know what I'm going to say. If we have a goal, we need indicators to understand if we are approaching goals. So I feel that another row here, establishing, connecting or system outcomes with indicators could be quite useful. So maybe Felipe in the future will show us how these indicators are growing and growing, and we are going and try to connect with our final goals. Yeah.
Perfect. And I know there'll be a lot of people here with that experience of overlaying like an MEL framework on top of a theory of change. So I think that's absolutely the kind of thing we'll look to do as part of the group. Excellent. Thank you very much. Can we have a quick round of applause for these Sudden volunteers? Thank you. And apologies, I know the other room, I've absolutely dismissed you here, so please do make sure that anything you've written down on your piece of paper, I'm going to capture that in the other room afterwards. Are there any final burning comments after hearing from that then that someone would like to share before I wrap? No, excellent. Please make sure it's on the piece of paper, because I am the type of facilitator who will look at every single line and slowly compile it into a thing that will go into the interest group's next meeting. So if it's on the page, it will be considered. Thank you. So I'm just going to wrap up with a few things, and I'm going to throw to Kyle, wherever he is. I will summarise your input. The group is going to meet next. If you'd like to join us, we're a really fun, productive group. Put your email down and you can come party with us. We're going to meet at least 1 to 2 more times to work out who will do what when to help support that theory of change. Some of that might be individual actions by orgs that they can just go off with, but they know how it links back to our shared theory. But some of it might be collaborative that we're going to work out. And yes, if you've shared your email, we will include you in that, either just to keep you up to date or you can come along. Last quick things is I would like to shout out this little lonely station that's sitting near the front door that's looking for some love. So it is something that the DRD team have put together. Imagine yourself in a few years and you say, gosh, why isn't the network working on X? We should have achieved stuff on X. Or I wish the network would do Y action. They're never doing that. Like, that would be so important. Literally this moment, the next 24 hours, is where you get to influence that for the next period, right? So you're not allowed to say those things unless you put some slips in these boxes in the next 24 hours. So if you have a look, the instructions are there. There's a breakdown of the 5 focus group areas that the network's developed, and there's just paper and pen for you to pop things anonymously in there so they can be absolutely scathing and inspiring. I think, that's Kyle's slide. Can I just say, can we have one final round of applause for the brilliant network team and everyone who shared today?